nice to have you here tonight. Can you tell us the book that you've brought to the Audies and introduce yourselves?
Yeah, Frank Randall from Highbridge Audio, and we are the publishers of Mandela and Audio History, which is a production by Joe Richman. And we've been nominated for 2 Audies tonight. The first is Best Original Work, and the other is Audio Book of the Year. And we're very proud to be here.
Great.
And I'm Joe Richman. I'm the founder of Radio Diaries, and we're the producer of Mandela and Audio History.
So tell us about this program. It started, it's a documentary, and it started as a documentary program, but has transitioned into audio. So tell us that story. How did that happen?
Well, it originally aired as a 5-part series on NPR's All Things Considered that was broadcast for the 10-year anniversary of the elections, of Mandela's election. And so it was a 5-part series that ran over the course of a week on NPR. And then we were looking into repackaging it as a special, and we talked to Frank about how to make that something that would live in other worlds as well beyond the radio broadcast.
Yeah, we knew that the audiobook listeners would love to hear this as well. And not everybody catches documentaries on NPR, and it was a big year for Mandela when we released it. There was the anniversary of his famous Ravinia speech. And we knew it was an opportunity to share it with a wider audience. So we contacted Joe about trying to expand it and encouraged him to find some of the cutting room floor gems that didn't make it into the broadcast, because there was a tremendous amount of documentation that he did, first-person interviews. And if you get a chance to listen to the audio, and I hope everyone does, it is told completely from the first person and using extremely rare and amazing, moving historical documents. And I'll let you talk a little about the content.
I mean, altogether, we collected about 100 hours of archival, of our original archival audio, and then about another 100 hours of first-person interviews with kind of everyone who was part of the struggle against apartheid, from political leaders on both sides, of course Mandela himself, and all his, the comrades and the people who fought against him as well. But for me, the real kind of the special quality of the story is the archival elements. I mean, we were able to just spend months in archives and in basements and find all this audio-only stuff that no one had ever really heard before, and to use, whether it's the courtroom proceedings of the Ravonia trial that sent Mandela to prison, or secret recordings of him inside prison. Hearing that stuff and bringing you back to the history, to me, is what makes it so, moving and special.
And Joe found much of this content in unlabeled boxes in South Africa. I mean, he's mentioning it in archives, but he traveled and did the legwork to go find this stuff, make it available for all of us to hear.
I mean, to me, I'm a total archival tape geek, so to me, there's nothing better than just spending weeks with these old recordings and, sometimes splicing them back together because they're falling apart. But sometimes you just find this stuff that no one's heard before, and it's historic and important, and it just brings you back, to that moment.
Well, it's interesting because, of course, there have been numerous stories about Mandela's life. But this is very different, the way it comes across as an audio program in a very incredibly powerful way. And how did you achieve that?
Well, I think, one thing is the archival elements are so strong and just make, just bring you, back to that moment of history. But also, the style that we produce this in and all of our work in is to take out the narrator, take out the script, take out the sort of mediation and the middleman, and let people tell their own stories. And so it's sort of like history present tense. It's like letting people experience the history almost like it's happening right then. That's the goal. And between the interviews and the archival elements and also just this history, this story is so compelling. And I think, it is Mandela's story, but of course it isn't really Mandela's story. It's really the story of the whole struggle against apartheid. And it's a kind of a collective history, and that's what we were trying to do.
Well, it's very interesting to me that this documentary style has expanded what we're doing with audiobooks and audio programs. And this, what you've done with the Mandela seems to be a great example of that. And the opportunity to do it and your recognition of it is exciting. Is there something, you have other things in your sleeve or it was nice. I guess maybe it's nice to know that you had an opportunity to expand what the original was.
Yeah, I mean, we're excited to bring the work that we do on the radio to lots of different mediums, and I think the audio world is expanding in really exciting ways. Obviously, whether it's audiobooks, podcasts, radio, I think it's all really exciting, and who knows the ways that we can all play together. But we are certainly thrilled to turn this into another form.
Yeah, well, one of the opportunities here is on the radio. A lot of talented producers are limited to 5, 7, 9 minutes, something like that, and the audiobook world is more than happy for a story of this magnitude to be given the kind of time allotment it needs, and if there are audio materials of that quality out there, we want to be able to turn them into a larger format for a larger audience.
Well, it's exciting, I think, that because the audiobook listening, because a lot of people listen with headphones, it becomes a very intimate experience.
Yeah.
And this Mandela particularly fits into that.
Right. No, I was thinking the exact same thing. There is something, I think maybe in the context of a news program, like All Things Considered, you may hear it a little bit differently. There is something about choosing to listen to this history, putting it in, putting your headphones on, that I think can be a very transporting experience. And I think hopefully that way of listening matched with this program, with this content, I think will hopefully really feel like it is an experience. That's what I always go for, is let people feel like they've experienced the history, they've experienced the story in some way that feels more visceral than just someone telling them about it.
And if people have the opportunity to listen to more of Joe's work, they discover that one of his special talents is to let people tell their own story. And Mandela is an example of that. He involved many voices and let each of them tell their own story from their own perspective. And a lot of his other work is along the same lines. And it goes back to the point you were making about the personal experience. It's one person telling you directly their story and trying to keep a narrator out of it. Historical context is nice, and we always want enough of it, but just enough. If we want to let that story stand on its own.
It's the magical thing about audio that we all know, right? That there is this, when done well, there's this incredible ability to let the listener feel like they know the subject. That it's like a family member. It feels like they're right there with them. And Mandela is someone that we all feel like we know on some level, but to bring him and to bring all the other people who are so connected to that story, and to make us feel like we know them, I think that that's what we tried to do.
Very exciting program, and we wish you the best of luck tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Interrupt just for a second. I know they're going to do some editing, but I'd love for Joe just to share what it was like to be in the room with Mandela and talk to him.
Yeah, we should say that.
Well, it's a long story about how I actually came to meet him. But it was a very strange. I had been trying to interview Mandela for many years, for 2 years while we were working on this program. The way it finally happened is a dear friend of his, who had become a dear friend of mine, one day just drove me to his house, disappeared inside. A security guard came back out and got me, and I soon found myself at lunch with Nelson Mandela and his wife, his wonderful wife, Graça Machel, his daughter Zinani, and my friend Ntato Matlana. And I sat down for lunch with Mandela, which was one of the most surreal and wonderful experiences of my life. And we finished lunch. They chatted about his eye doctor appointment and mundane things like that. And then after lunch, we went to the living room, and I finally got my interview.
And that's part of the Mandela and audio history. So
the audio from that interview is how we introduce the story, where he talks about the importance of knowing your own past, your own history.
Very nice. Well, that's exciting, and we wish you the best of luck tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you.